Hi friends, this is Namita from Metamorphosis, and here I come again with another topic that's been kind of showing up in my therapies. Uh, Shame. Yes, I name it as the modern day tool of destruction. We don't need weapons. We use humiliation, insult, and shame to put somebody down. Uh, and that's the most destructive weapon that as a society we are using, and it's causing a lot of mental damage because shame is invisible as a violence, but it has its deep wounds in the heart. And when you have your own parents who use this tool to control you, uh, put, not to put you down, but from us, from knowing that they are probably doing the better thing, and you may using it to as a fear or, or a false motivator, so that you can do better, has long lasting and damaging effects on you. When your father shames you or demeans you for your intelligence, that you are such a shame to the family, an embarrassment to the family, how your presence is so shaming, probably because you failed very badly in exam, and it caused them pretty embarrassment because it was about how bad they were as parents, and they rubbed it off on you. And these subtle ways of shaming makes a deep impact because you carry them as your identity, as who you become. um, I have been recently seeing shaming on sexuality. I do work on womb healing, mother wound healing, and it's not about emotional shaming, but it's also shaming about your own sexuality. A lot of boys have been shamed for masturbating. A lot of women have been shamed because they have bigger breasts, and these are incidences from actual real life people that I've worked with. When you hear their parents saying that, you know what, you like to show off yourself to others, and the child is so confused at the age of puberty as to what that meant by saying you're showing off to yourself, others, you're luring them. How many women have been hearing that statement from their own father or your own mother, that you are cheap, you're a slut, you're a whore, Randy? Yes, these words have been used by parents. I've heard children say that. I've heard adults who are still grappling with that shame, that identity they carry, given to them by their parents. You may be shocked to say that, oh, does that happen? It has happened. I'm not making it up. It's a very sorry state of affairs that as parents, you use these terminologies to your own offspring. Men have been shamed for their sexual desires. Masturbation is a very common thing at an early age when puberty strikes in. Curiosity. Rather than giving them a healthy environment or a space where they can come up to you and look for clarity, most parents have sought to shame women who had their periods and are completely unclear about what's happening, hormonal changes in them, or are also shamed. And shamed by whom? The woman, the mother, the father, who presupposedly is the best role model to understand what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, not according to society, but at the biological level. Are you speaking sex to your children? Are you speaking about the sexual changes that happen in their body, in in their mind, in their physiology, in their biology, in their emotional way of looking at themselves. When shame strikes at this age, it's very difficult for the child to own up to his own identity because somewhere he or she is ashamed of it. This starts reflecting earlier or later in the age of 34, 35, or later midlife crisis, as we talk about it, where people are looking forward to step into their authentic self. But the fear of your authentic self is too much of an exposure. The hidden dynamic of shame, of how you will be accepted or will you be accepted for who you are, starts showing up. Humiliation, embarrassment, uh, about your own sexuality, about your own emotions, recreates and triggers the trauma as a child that you felt when you expressed your anger, when you expressed your sexuality. And sex has nothing to do with sexuality. Sexuality is who you are, it's your identity, it's an energy that we all carry. When we are ashamed about carrying that energy, that's when we shut down or shun down the authentic self. And probably that's the energy that keeps us alive. It's the energy of aliveness. And the whole journey then is to face your shame. Shame, unlike grief or sadness, uh, is not that goes with just crying in your me time. Shame is probably the complete opposite of sadness and grief. It demands you to show up, it demands you to be exposed, to be healed. I cannot heal my shame by taking my me time because that again is further hiding me away. Shame demands me to stand there bare naked. But I wouldn't risk that for people who have deep shame issues to do it on their own. I would recommend that you go to a therapist and feel that exposure in a safe environment so that you rewrite your identity. You feel safe again to show up who you are. And once you start doing that, and once your body rewrites the history that it's safe to be me, you can take the next step of stepping out in the world. But shame cannot be healed by sitting and meditating. Shame is uh, the curse of the New Age society, and it stops us from reaching out to our highest potential. Moralities, society, how they should be, how you should be. Getting past through that, you need to step up, step out. But make sure you do it with safe hands. I deal with a lot of clients and help them step up to face their shame because I have done it myself. Been shamed, humiliated for who I am, how I look, how I feel about my sexuality, about my desires, about my looks, about my education. Humiliation, shame, fear have been a very vital part of my own growing up years. And honestly, I tried a lot to struggle and work with it. But the only way I could work with my shame is find a safe place where I could expose my nakedness, my vulnerability, and not alone emotional vulnerability, sexual, emotional, at times being abused, and learning from that. I think shame is the toughest uh, lesson because you have to be willing to in a way be shameless. Go in all those corners that where you have been shamed or where you think you should be ashamed of yourself. Those nooks and corners. You're not a good mother, you're not a good wife, you're not a good woman. There are a lot of stories people have to tell you. And that stops your growth. That stops you from facing the world because you're scared of being exposed. I have this huge fear. I have had recently a friend of mine calling me up, and thanks to this person that he opened up about his issues, his sexual fears, and his sexuality, and how we could relate to how he is so scared of being out in the open. Because deep down he has a fear of being exposed, a childhood trauma of being caught in sexual acts number of times and being humiliated. The only way to undo that is when we re-look back at ourselves, rather than regretting it, rather than wanting to disown it. Look at it with love and say, well, I was just 13 or maybe 16 when I did that. To see the innocence in the action. A child who's full of curiosity, and his curiosity lands him in a very shameful act. When we heal those parts and look at the intention, look at our own selves uh, doing this with such an innocence, when we find our own innocence rather than beating up ourselves. And when that emotional innocence, when we are owning our truth, when I don't need to tell the whole world my history, but when I tell myself, what do I see in my eyes? Do I see shame? Do I see innocence lost? Because the day I am okay with it, the day I am at peace with it, there is this deep down sense of peace that that's who I am. That's what I did when I was 16. This is what happened to me. I'm not scared of being exposed because I know who I am. Every part of me is in touch with me. There's nothing to be exposed. There's no secrets I'm hiding within myself. When you have nothing to hide, you're scared of nothing. That's when you have really conquered and overpowered your shame. And such people are very scary because you cannot use fear, shame to control them. So, all the people out there who are scared to step up, to be seen, one thing I can say, probably work on your shame. Because the biggest virtue of the shame is creativity, joy, and the biggest vices is guilt. So if you open up yourself, own up to your own self, your shadow, rather than feeling guilty, because guilt is no emotion. Guilt is society's way of controlling. As long as you let shame and guilt guide your life, you are missing out on your heart's desire. You're missing out on full exposure of who you are, full nakedness of your body and your soul. And healing the mother wound, it's one primary um, way of healing your shame. how our mothers perceived us, how our fathers perceived us, had a great impact on how we perceived ourselves. Time and again, that's where it all starts from. And as an adult, you can only go back in time and retrieve those parts. Healing shame is a very deep work. It's just not verbal jargon. It's deep work. It's freeing yourself from the clutches and identities borrowed by others. So that you can listen to that little voice in your heart asking you to follow your guidance. Right now, I am at Hinduja Hospital. My father is not keeping well, so he's in the ICU. I'm waiting downstairs till he recovers. And there is pain. I see myself as a small child with him. That's what's happened to us. We never cease to be children when it comes to our parents. Even at this age, with all the grown up aspects of life, seeing him in pain, seeing him sick, saddens me. The only thing now, it doesn't collapse my world. I'm grown up to take care of myself. But that doesn't take away the child who loves you. He finds it difficult to see him in pain, maybe in a way, last days of his life. You cannot take that child away because that's who you become. So don't try to grow up by disowning your child. But if you could be the child what is needed to be and the grown up is required, heal your shame so that you can tap into who you are. Whatever modality suits you, inner child, chakra, whatever. Trust me, the only way you can heal shame is to make a deal with your therapist to help you feel exposed in a safe environment. The more you expose yourself, the more you allow yourself to step out. You can connect to me on my Facebook page to know more about the various other workshops, classes, or coaching that I do. I've walked this path, and that's what I share, the path I have walked. I do not have anything else to share more than what I have done, been there, practiced it, walked it. I don't have fancy words to say uh, and talk about my achievements. Thanks for listening to me, and hoping to see a lot of you on my Mother Healing workshop. You can check on my page the dates and the details. Till then, let me just wait and see if there is something more heart touching story or a topic I would like to share with you. Thank you.